3, 2, 1, we're recording. Hi boys and girls, it's me Butch. My name is Terry David Silvercloud. I'm not native, it just sounds that way. I'm 81 years old and I live in Vancouver, British Columbia. Today is the 3rd of December 2025. It's a rainy, chilly day out there, 10 minutes to 2. And what Butch is trying to do is test out some of his new gear and the way in which he's going to record video while he's still alive. Like I said, I'm 81, but I have atrial fibrillation and weakening kidneys, and I take a whole lot of pills to keep my heart ticking at regular blood pressure and stuff like that. So I make videos, and I used to have different studio gear. Oops, where's an itchy back? Things always happen when you don't want to. I got an itch. Hang on. That's a good itch. Having the ruler in my hand, that reminds me of something. So in the last while, I've converted this Butch News channel, which is what this video is mainly being made, for which this video is being made mainly, to being all about me because I'm old and not well, and parades and things. I'm not doing that anymore. So it's all about me. And what I want to do is try and educate you, motivate you, teach you, um, whatever I can do to inspire you to make your life a little bit better in some sort of way. Because I'm just an artist waiting to croak. And at the moment, I'm shipping off all my boyfriend, Mark Brickell, and my negatives and prints from film days, filming chemicals, old school photography, to the Gay Archives in Toronto. I urge you to support them. I'll leave something probably in the description down below. But I gather the reason lots of you like coming here is just to see me. You wanted to see me. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm really pleased because I'm vain. I had a lot of, I still do, I'm getting better. You can see, I don't really want to show you, but I have red marks on my arm, and I don't want to draw attention to my stomach or my legs, but things are getting better. I'm old. I discovered I had hormone problems a long time ago, and things are getting more under control. But for the last year or so, I've had a lot of embarrassing red marks on my body. That's why I've been shy about videos. Vain that I am, I don't want to look gross. But I'm looking better, and apparently you guys like seeing me. So here I am, and I think I'm decent for YouTube. I hope so. These are legal beachwear bikini from Skinswear, SKINZWEAR.com. I'm not getting paid to say that, and I'm not monetized. YouTube thinks I'm too queer for monetization. Advertisers don't like me. So give me a whole bunch of likes and tell your friends, and maybe we can prove YouTube wrong that we homosexuals, we have a lot of money. Well, I don't, I'm poor. Generally, we only have us to spend money on ourselves, mostly. Not all of us, but you get my drift. I don't have to explain it too deeply. Um, so what I thought I'd do is just let you see lots of me, being me, goofy me. I'm into physics. Physics is the study of energy, matter, and motion. And the mathematics can be really not fun. But the concepts, once you begin to wrap your head around the basics, and that can get a bit complicated. If you take basic physics up to college level, even a bit of college physics, you'll have some of the background you need, but then you'll discover there's a lot more going on that we know about, and we physicist types are arguing amongst ourselves all the time about Who's right? Well, Butch is right, of course. We really don't know exactly what's going on, and Butch's ideas have been contrary to general opinion for a long time. But fortunately, general opinion is coming around, thinking the same way Butchie Poo thinks about certain issues of physics. Butch says the theoretical particle called tachyons are definitely real, and their velocity relative to us is 4/3 pi c cubed. In other words, if you were observing them with you at the center of your observation, so we can comply with all the rules of general relativity and special relativity even, um, and quantum physics, you're the center. So relative to you, they are moving at 4/3 pi c cubed. The physicists will get it. Um, I'm going to tell you a bit about how electricity works because I know you just want to look at me or something. Apparently, you want to look at me. Here I am. Here I am. You want to see me in different ways? He's old Butch. I guess I should be posing or something, right? Is this a pose? Let me see if I twist that way. Suck your stomach, you can see some of my leftover scars. You can touch them up in Photoshop. That was very rad a few months ago. I'm getting over it, I hope, completely. Uh, so what else can I do? Dramatic poses. Oh, I'm still carrying this ruler because you reminded me of something that happened when I was very young. I want to teach you stuff. And we had a substitute teacher when I was quite young, and he came in and he told us a story about this old man or farmer or somebody and his donkey, and he couldn't get the donkey to move for love nor money. The donkey wasn't going nowhere. And the stranger said, "Oh, well, you got to know the trick." And the farmer said, "Well, I thought I knew all the tricks." And the dude said, "Well, apparently you don't." And he picked up a stick and walked over to the donkey and went, "First, you got to get its attention." I hope that didn't hurt your ears. So I always thought that was kind of cute. Thanks for bearing with me. I didn't want to hurt your ears. I hope that didn't hurt your ears. You may wonder what these doodads are on my. I was looking. I have a big TV screen there right in front of me. I can see myself because it's telling me what one of the. It's telling me what the wide camera is seeing, and then I have two smartphones doing vertical. This one over here, you guys. It's supposed to follow me around, and if I have to be careful because if it sees certain hand gestures, it'll think I'm trying to tell it something, and I'm not. I'm not telling you anything. Um, I want to keep my what inside here because I know that's what you came for. You came here for you. I know why you're here. Some of you, not all of you, but the majority of you. I get it now. I understand why you're here. That's okay. Butch has no shame. He's an artist, and I used to get questioned because I did male nude photography, and that's what I'm shipping off to the archives. That's what I'm sort of famous for, is male nude photography, including self-portraits. Um, like, what about the children sort of thing? And so I looked into that, and I'm no expert, but from what I've read, even the Warren Commission, the Nice Commission, and all that, they came to the conclusion in the one I read, which was an 18-year study by about a collection of a dozen or so really serious and well-known people in the field of child and adolescent psychiatry and that kind of stuff. All of them say the same thing. The kids just don't notice. It's just not part of their lives. The community is nothing to them. They're not noticed. It's just nothing to them. And the only thing that's going to screw them up is the parents getting all excited about, like, what's going on? What's wrong? So anyhow, let's not dwell on that. So I want to teach you a bit about what is electricity. Okay, that's what this is going to be about. So in the world out here, it's made of atoms. You probably know that. And the atoms come in all kinds of types. The very, very simplest atom has a proton around which you'll find an electron. And not only that, there's two different types. You'll find once you start studying physics, there's always two of everything. And that sort of keeps the universe in balance one way or another. But so what the different types are is there's a right spinning proton, like one that always, whatever you call up, I'm going to call that up there to be up. Up is just a relatively illusion, what we call up. If we are the South Pole, we could call the South Pole up. But if we're going to call the North Pole up, now things that are spin, there's that kind of proton, and then there's another one that spins to the left. And the same thing with the electron. There's one that spins to the right and one that spins to the left. So you can have a right spinning or a left spinning electron, and you can have a left or right spinning proton, and they will match up with each other. The left spinning electron will like the left spinning proton, and vice versa. So if two of those different ones, the left spinning hydrogen and the right spinning hydrogen, actually get together, that's hydrogen gas. It's gas when it's on its own too, but normally you'll find them, the two of them, the opposites, together, and they like it that way. And when they're together and they bump into an oxygen um, atom, what happens is that the hydrogen had one electron, and between each of them they had two, and one of them was a right spinning electron and the other one was a left spinning electron. It just so happens that every oxygen atom on its own is missing two electrons, one each of a left spinning and one of a right spinning. So if it comes across a molecule, that's when the two hydrogens are stuck together, a molecule of two hydrogens, it says, woohoo, we could, let's put a spark behind this, and it takes a bit of a spark. It takes a little bit of something to bump it going, but it's not much. And they'll go bang, quite literally bang, but at a microscopic level, so you don't notice. But if there were billions of them there doing it all at once, you would call it an explosion, hydrogen gas exploding. And what that would be the hydrogen gases, all that gas joining up with the oxygen atoms all at once, pretty much at the same time. And when they do, when the electron joins up to the oxygen, it falls into the oxygen's outer shell, and when it does that, it gives up a quantum. It did a quantum leap into the. That's what a quantum leap is. It's the smallest leap there is. But it leaped into the oxygen and it gave up a quantum of energy, which is no big deal for the most part. But if a billion electrons all do it at the same time, that's a billion quanta all at one time, and that's a very big spark. In fact, it's a flame, and you might even call it an explosion. And if you're in it, bye bye for you. Okay, did that all make sense? Probably not, but Butchie Poo is trying. So, what is electricity? Electricity is that same thing where the electron that was moving to between, joining up between the hydrogen and the oxygen. Electricity is sort of the same thing, but instead of going from a nearby atom to one that's right next door beside it, it's going to go a long way and through a wire. But it might not actually go through a wire. What may happen is that if this was the wire, it may just sit there and vibrate. And while it's vibrating, it's also spinning. Remember, they're always spinning. And there's two different types, one spinning left, one spinning right. But the thing is, it will, while it's spinning, whether it's left or right, it can just sit in the wire and vibrate. And when it sits in a wire like that, just vibrating, we call that alternating current. And the reason it's vibrating is that the electron has what we call a negative charge. That's what we call it. It just means it's just a word, negative. So we have something to be an opposite. And so in a wire, we put at one end of the wire when you plug it into the wall. There's two prongs, right? Even with AC, and that's another story. We'll come to alternating current. This time it's going to be direct current. The electricity is only going to go in one direction. That's why it's called direct current. And it's easier to explain that way. So at one end of the wire, there's just a shitload of electrons sitting there for one reason or another we're not going to get into. But at the other end, um, it's missing electrons. It wants it. They're like, come here, we want you. Come on, come on, come on. And so the electrons go through the wire. That's direct current. Now the current, the actual current, is traveling at light speed. And you're saying, well, wait a minute, the electrons aren't going at light speed. That's impossible. I'm not going to say whether it is or not. Butch says it is possible. That's another story. But they don't actually do that. They're not even coming remotely close. What happens is the pressure, the desire of the electrons to get out of that bucket and go to the other bucket over there is so intense that more of them go. They don't necessarily go any faster, just more of them go. That's called the amperage or the current. And we can make them go faster if we increase the pressure, which is called the voltage. So if we stack even more well, we got a big, let's just say we got a shitload of electrons in a bucket there, but over at this end, we're just taking electrons out so fast that the pressure to go through the pipe, the wire, is very strong as the voltage rises. Now, the electrons don't actually travel at the speed of light. What happens is that inside the wire, there are atoms of any kind of atom that can be what we call a conductor. And there's quite a few of them, but many metals like copper and steel, and particularly copper and steel that we know of, with which you'll be familiar, their structure, remember I told you that the hydrogen had, the basic hydrogen had a proton and an electron. When they get bigger, they also stick a neutron in for every proton, but don't worry about them. But as they get bigger, there's a big cluster of protons and then a whole bunch of electrons surrounding them. And these electrons behave sort of like, oops, I just realized that my camera got lost over there. I'm sorry. When I wave my hands around it, my tracking camera gets confused. You're back. Hi. Well, I don't want to put my hand up. It'll think I'm doing something. Um, so I'm going to come up to you guys right here, and you can see there's sort of, my eyes aren't very good, so I'm just going to look at what I'm looking at here. There's little orangey dots here at the edges of the joints here. So those could be like the electrons in a metal. For you, camera over here, B-roll camera. And in a metal, some of those electrons are missing. They just ain't there. Well, there could be a certain number of them, and there just isn't as many as there could be. So there's a hole there. And what that means is that even if they don't actually even need them, which usually they don't, they would rather have them anyway because they're greedy. Atoms are greedy, just like people. So what happens is there's any nearby electron that can fall into that hole and just be stuck there, sort of like a bump on the surface. Like a bump on the surface. Can you see a bump on the surface there? Put a big bump on the surface like that. It'll stay there, and it's doing that because those holes are spinning, and so is the electron. And it could just take a rest if it could fall into a hole doing exactly the same spin that it's doing, and it does. So when the electron from nearby moves from anywhere into that atom, that is electricity. The movement of the electron is electricity, and it doesn't really drift through the wire very fast, but when it makes that, what we call a quantum leap, it does it at the speed of light. It's instantaneous, and then it's part of that atom. So in alternating current, what happens in the wire is it's the electrons in the metals of the wire just simply vibrate. They're basically jumping in and out constantly, but they're not going anywhere. So the each end of the wire is for in 60 cycle current, 60 times a second. It's positive, and 60 times a second it's negative. So the electron never goes anywhere, and it's just making little tiny quantum leaps. And enough of them are making little quantum leaps, you got yourself a current. And how fast they do that is a cycle, like 50 cycles, 60 cycles. If you start making them do it like about 100,000 times a second, which isn't that hard to do if you know what you're doing, uh, high school types, physics types will know how to do that. You should know how to do it. Then they will actually be affecting the atmosphere around them to the point, even if there's nothing there, like open space, they will radiate electromagnetic waves called radio waves. So I'm just jacking on and on because I'm trying to maybe get some concepts into your head. I don't know. Give it a shot. And also you get to see me sort of being me, and you get to see as much of me as YouTube will allow. I don't have a great butt, but I'm afraid to touch my toes because it'll confuse the motion tracking camera. Maybe if I do it slowly. I don't want to lose track of me. But that's good for your butt. So when you're touching your toes, like really push your ass out, and that'll exercise the muscles that are in there, the glutes. And eventually, if you do it enough, you'll build them up. So you want some muscle there, not just fat. Um, so Butchie Poo is trying to work in that. He's vein. And we talked about exercise, right? Were we talking about exercise earlier? If I didn't, exercise all the time. You gotta want it. No pain, no gain. See, what happened here is I actually thought I did a video, and then I realized I didn't turn the mic on, so now I don't remember what the hell I talked about the first time, but I was just rambling on that anyway. Um, and I don't know how long I've been yakking on this time. The main thing here is to try and maybe teach you a little bit. Oh, one thing I haven't talked about this time, and I did talk about the last time, so I'll yak on a bit about that. What is light? Light is a very, remember I was talking about 50 cycle current, our household current? It's just like 60 times a second. That's like, that's very slow, and if you get up to 100,000 times, I was telling you, it radiates radio waves. Well, you can go faster and faster and faster than that, and you get into gamma rays and stuff like you've heard of. These are like extremely short waves, but before you get to gamma rays, and after the radio waves, like you'll get into radio waves, and then you get into these more exotic, smaller and smaller, and shorter and shorter and shorter waves, shorter and shorter. Got three cameras going here. Let's get you down there. Shorter and shorter waves. Um, in there, there's a very narrow spectrum of electromagnetic radiation we call light. And if you could see all the radiation out there, like around it, we'd be blinded by, well, it wouldn't, light is in your head. And this is very hard for a physicist to convey to non-physicist types, and even some of the basic physicist type probably never really thought about this. But light is a very, very, very teensy. Remember we had 50, 60 cycle? When we get up there to thousands of cycles, there's a very, very narrow band to which eyeballs, we have sorry about that camera. Our eyeballs are radio antennae. We have two of them so that we can see in stereo if they're both working. And they're tuned to the wavelength of light, which is, your eyeballs are really tiny, right? That'll give you an idea how small they are. They have to be really small to resonate with the electromagnetic waves that are vibrating in the air all around us. Like I can see the pictures on the wall, they're in the air. Those are just reflections of electromagnetic waves in that tiny spectrum hitting atoms in the walls in the picture. And those atoms and molecules are the same physical size as the light. And not always, like the waves that are bouncing off this yellow ball. Oops, sorry, we lost you over there. Sorry. I wasn't watching. I confused the camera again by waving my hands. You guys over there. I have three cameras going. Um, so the waves that are bouncing off these are longer than blue waves. And your eyes can detect that because they have these cone-shaped antennas, and they're smaller at the top because the atoms at the top have to vibrate just a little bit, where for the longer yellow waves that are bigger, they have to be able to sway more. Like, they're much, the little blue waves are up here, while the yellow waves are my bum down there swaying down there. Got that? And the antenna in your eyeballs convert those waves to what we think is color. And evolution has somehow programmed something in our brain to be able to tell that we can see colors just by differentiating how things resonate. The reason the yellow is resonating yellow is that it's not a great big yellow atom. This ball, keep forgetting. Are you tracking me, camera? Sorry, I got to get the camera to track me again. There we go. If I wave my hand the wrong way, I lose my tracking. This is why I'm learning about all this. Got to be careful how I wave my hands. The tracking camera will take it as a signal to stop tracking or start tracking. But getting back to the yellow ball, it's coated or it's made of atoms that their molecular color is yellow. There's a dye in there. They've deliberately made the plastic, which generally speaking is clear. They've dyed it sort of an opaque yellow. And that means the atoms of the dye, their physical size, the physical diameter, the actual diameter of the yellow is the same wavelength as yellow. So when yellow hits it, it causes the little yellow atoms in here to go, oh, I just got hit. And it reflects back towards all around it, basically, depending on the angle of incidence and reflection. Oops, I hope the mic didn't go crazy there. I can't do that. You're going to get loud, right? Your microphone. Hi. Um, I'm testing. He's testing. I'm a goof. I'm a goof. I'm trying to amuse you and entertain you and educate you. And I think this video's probably gotten really long now, so I'm going to quit shortly. Um, you've got some. You got to see some of me. You've gotten to see some of Butch. That's what you wanted, right? To see some of Butch. You're seeing some of Butch. There you go. You're seeing some of Butch. I'm such a goof, I know. It's not that hard to have self-confidence. You can do it. Whatever you want to do, most of you can do it. I know that once in a while, some of us have some sort of whatever, it's not our fault. It might slow us down. But if you want it, you'll get it. You just got to work it. I'm 81 and I don't have much more to go. I'm busy shipping off my I can't even say it. You know what I'm yakking about, to the Gay Archives, and I'm painting, trying to finish up a lot of my artwork. I'm into abstract expressionism and landscapes, and it doesn't really matter. People don't really care about painters anymore, but I'm doing it anyway. Uh, and trying to educate and entertain you people out there. So, like, I just rambled and rambled. Oh, I just saw something I got to tell you about. This thing here, you mean? What the hell is that? I wrote a book, The Shape of God. You can download it for free at theshapeofgod.com while I'm still alive. Get on it right now. Download it right now if you want a copy while I'm still alive. So this is what Butch says helium right at the point of condensation would look like if we could see helium. Helium is a gas, and it's made up of two hydrogen atoms, and nobody knows how except me, Butch. So this is a Butch concept, and the reason helium cannot freeze is because it's two hydrogen atoms interlocked, and they just can't get any smaller. Butch says that if they could, they would form a shape. Johnson solid J26, the gyrobifastigium. Johnson solid J26. So if it could freeze, which it can't, but if it could, if helium could freeze, which says it would form a gyrobifastigium. So the universe can never come to an end, which says so. I'm falling over my couch either. So I just had to get this in. This is whenever I can document my crazy ideas, I do it in vain. And nobody's going to do it for me. And you basically wanted to look at me anyway, so I have a bit of a gut, but I'm working on it. That happened when I sort of gained weight, when I didn't know I had a hormone problem. And you can see some of my red marks somewhere here, just they're clearing up. I hope I'm so vain. All right, I'm going to shut up. And if I do everything right, and I go to this camera over here, which is supposed to be the main camera, you're supposed to be the main camera. Let me just make a little juggle here. There you go. You're supposed to be the main camera. Um, when I make a V sign, the main camera, you're the B-roll camera, and you over there, you there, you're my cinematic camera. So when I make a V sign, the camera is going to stop recording, and that's what Butchie Poo is going to do right now. He's going to make a V sign and say goodbye. Bye.